It's now a great pleasure, and I'm very excited to introduce our next guest, Richard Wentworth, and his manifesto, Dado, Run, Run. Richard Wentworth is an artist, curator, and teacher currently based at the Ruskin School of Drawing and Fine Art. He was awarded the Mark Rothko Memorial in '74 and the Berlin DAD Fellowship in '93-'94. Ever since the '70s, Richard Wentworth has emerged as one of the key figures of British art. And actually, in the very first exhibition I had organized in '91, the Kitchen Show, Richard Wentworth was not only one of the key participants, but he also gave the title to the show and to the publication called World Soup. A very warm welcome to Richard Wentworth, Dado, Run, Run.
I never thought I'd appear in church. The do run run is different pronunciation, is dedicated to a man called Ron, who was a cabinet maker, who I think died about 10 years ago and taught me lots of things. But I suppose what one might say is that he taught me things by example. I couldn't do any of the things that he's called Ron Lentil. I don't think I could do any of those things, but it was something about being sensible to the world. He would have, he'd have got this, but he would have tutted. I think manifestos are really disturbing. I'm not a manifesto man, but I have a proposal. And the proposal the proposal is that I can almost guarantee there's nobody here who isn't either in or has been through further education. Can we have a show of hands for anybody who's not? Wow, a fake. I'll give you a bottle of champagne. Anyway, my proposal is that you shouldn't be allowed to go into further education without having had much more experience than you have had. And I'm going to propose some things that you should have done by the time you go into further education, and you can replace my proposals by your proposals. So it's not prescriptive, but it's a kind of model. I think you should have worked somewhere where sugar was produced. That's not a kind of English moralistic thing. It's simply that I have no idea how this stuff gets to be like this. Or like this. And I think you should know that. Every time you open one of those, which I'm sure you don't because you're so correct, nonetheless, you know what I'm saying. You should know how this gets made. I'm going to pass some things round. Nice to see you. Yes, you got the joke. You should know why there's brown sugar. And you should work in a place that makes napkins or any of the papers that are surrogate cloth, that are pretending really to be the finer things that preceded the invention of paper. You should know what this is, and you should have loved it. Can pass that round. You should know how to do that, and why you do that, and what the tool's called. That's not a shovel, it's a spade. You should know by experience how things get converted into other things and then are called by different names. You should appreciate difference, and you really should appreciate smell. Try smelling the blue one. You should know about the history of containers and how they get to be like they get. And you should work in a polystyrene factory and take this apart into its component units and wonder how they got like that. You should know that you don't have to measure things. You should try working in a corrugated cardboard factory and think how miraculous it is. And you should try working in a hardboard factory, not an MDF factory, and think about the history of printing. You should spend time where they make string. If you had the chance, you should find out how elastic bands are made. And the whole history of joining things and cutting them. I'm not allowed to pass this round because it's so sharp, but anyone under 40 will be able to see what that is. Those are the most beautiful blades, the ones with the heavy back and the immensely sharp edge. I've never been somewhere which actually produces these things. You should try working in a toothpick factory. And somewhere that makes are they called matchbooks? Anyway, these kind of matches. You should really enjoy the difference, all the different kinds of pointedness. So these are the most enjoyable screws in the world. I know what you're thinking. And you should know the difference between a hard and a soft nail. And I know it's a cliche, but you should also spend time somewhere where they make paper clips. You should enjoy tape, which didn't exist until probably 60 or 70 years ago. You should find out where you can get hold of this totally wonderful wire, which the French call récuit, which means double cooked. But you can bend it forever, and it is unbelievably pleasurable. If you want to get extravagant, you might like to find out how rock is made, because it's soon going to be banned. And as things get really elaborate, you might want to find out how those zappers get put in clothes, and then you find that you've got them at home. I think the thing that probably none of us have any idea about at all, maybe there's one person here who will know this, is that actually how long would it take to weave my shirt? I mean, the loom is now pretty old, but I think working somewhere which actually produces volume, the thing that is keeping some of you warm and some of you not, is phenomenal, and you should know that as experience. This is the strangest product of our times because it's neither woven nor it's not quite molded. You can enjoy thinking about it as it goes round. It's nearly made of chewing gum. I think every time I say you should, I think I really mean you might. It would be nice to really know what these are and what they do, which my guess is fewer of us than might really know that by experience. If you each take one home, you can have a bean tree next year. Throughout the time I've been standing up here, I wanted the kettle to boil, but there was a hitch over fire and the stage. So you have to imagine it whistling. It was my way of shutting myself up. I'm imagining it whistling. You should definitely work somewhere that makes toilets. That's made from liquid clay. I think that probably is an original Frank Gehry. That's proper volume making. I don't know whether you've ever broken one, but they are astonishing. Even more astonishing is that you can buy one for less than what it costs to eat dinner. That's £25. And everybody uses them 2 or 3 times a day. You don't even see them. Really one of the great pleasures. Essential too. I've just seen it on screen. It looks very fine. Of course, it's useless. I think it's funny that without any kind of infrastructure, it has no meaning whatsoever. It's simply a piece of fired and glazed clay. So what I hope would come from this would be that you'd all go away and criticize the evidently arbitrary list that I presented and make your own list of things that you think you should have found out about, not by research, but by experience, before you ever entered higher education. And I promise you the world would be a much better place. Thank you.